Greetings, everyone. This is Jeff Wilkerson, Professor of Physics at Luther College, bringing you the next of our What to Look For in the Night Sky series. We're talking about the week of February 6th, 2023 this time around, so churning right along. Let's look at what we can see in the evening sky. I thought about talking about the summer triangle. In the morning that I'm shooting this little film for you, I saw the summer triangle just beautiful in the morning sky, and so I thought about talking about the coming of the summer stars there that we see as we get towards spring here. But instead, let's take a look at some changes in the night sky. Let's go back. We talked about Venus and Jupiter, so we'll go to the middle panel here, and we talked about Venus and Jupiter last week. And so let's open with that again this week. Is to say it gets to be sunset, and you look west. And the two bright objects you see, Venus is beautiful. We've had a few clear evenings here that I've had a chance to see Venus, and it's just been delightful. And so Venus is a beautiful, bright object in the glow of the sunset there. It's getting further and further away from the sunset, and it's approaching Jupiter. That's what we talked about last week. As we open this week, go out on the Monday evening, the 6th, and there'll be 23.5 degrees roughly separating the two, maybe 2.5 fist widths at arm's length. By Sunday evening, 6 days later, that will have closed down to 17.5 degrees. So it'll be, well, I don't know, whatever that is, 3/4 of the separation that it was when the week started. So that's pretty good movement in 1 week to watch this gap close. So if you do nothing else this week, watching Jupiter and Venus, the two bright dots in the glow of the sunset looking west in the evening, that's fantastic. Just watch those two things getting closer and closer together, those things being planets, of course. Big, beautiful planets getting closer and closer together in the evening sky. So that's great. That's what we got for you here to start. Now let's talk about what the moon's doing this week. So the moon, on the evening of the 6th, morning of the 7th, overnight, it's pretty close to full. It's more than 98% full on that night. And it sits just above Regulus, the brightest star in Leo. So Leo, you've got the base of this sickle shape in Leo that marks the head of Leo. And about 5 degrees, I think, is that separation, more or less. It's going to change as the night goes on. Depends where you are. So what time you're observing. As a full moon, with the moon being full, you can see it pretty much all night long. So it's going to be somewhere on the order of 5 degrees separating, half a fist width. A nice pairing. Regulus is a big, bright star that can hold up to the full moon. Some of the fainter stars you can't see very well in the glow of the full moon. It's really close like that. But Regulus you should be able to see. You should be able to take a look at Regulus and see it as the moon slides by to the north. Now, so that's the evening of the 6th and the morning of the 7th as the week gets started. Let's go a few days later, the evening of the 9th into the morning of the 10th. By that time, the moon will have waned away. So we've got a nice waning moon, and it will have waned away to about 85% full. So still pretty full, still pretty bright, but at that point, it's sitting just below the delightful star Porrima, gamma star in Virgo. So Virgo looks like this sort of Y shape, or a martini glass. Spica is the bright star in Virgo that you see there, and this sits below. It sort of cups the triangle tail of Leo up here. And so we've talked about this before. This is a great part. If we wanted to talk about the summer triangle, telling us the summer stars are coming, this spring sky that we see here with Leo and Virgo, and with the moon being full when it starts, it's still pretty near full down here, tells us, okay, we're getting on to a spring sky, what we think of as a nice spring sky here. And so Porrima sits at the base of the vertex of where, this is a martini glass is what this really looks like, right? And so you've got Spica at the base of the martini glass, and you've got Porrima at the bottom of the cup here. And Porrima is the moon, I didn't look to see. It might actually get close enough this time by to occult Porrima for some observers. For me, it's going to get within about a degree or so. The moon will. So Porrima sits very close to the path of the moon in the sky, and so you get these close pairings once in a while. And so on the evening of the 9th into the morning of the 10th, the still near full moon slides by Porrima. Porrima is a double star, and it's a double star with a period of orbit It's a binary star, and the period of orbit is such that you can observe this thing. It had its closest approach, I'm going to say 15, 18 years ago, when the two stars were so close together, you wouldn't have really been able to see that there were two stars. But they've opened back up now, so that there's about 3 arc seconds. So if you've got a decent telescope and decent skies, you should be able to take your small telescope, look at Porrima here, and see those two beautiful stars glowing. This is a great long-term project. That separation is going to actually grow pretty rapidly here, and going to change pretty rapidly over the next few years. So if you want to watch this for the next 10 years, there's a 10-year observing project to watch the space between those two stars and that binary open up. But get out there and check it out right now. Now, one night later, the moon will have waned away to about 3/4 full, a little less than 3/4 full. And it will have slipped down here to the bright star Spica. So it's sitting right above the bright star Spica. It's going to get within 3 degrees of Spica. So that's a nice pairing with a bright star there. That's worth checking out on the evening of the 10th into the morning of the 11th. So we're talking about Friday night into Saturday morning now. We've made it through the bulk of the week here as we're doing this observing. So the moon is going to make pretty good pairings for you to observe as it wanes away from full with Regulus earlier in the week. We didn't write down what that was. You can't read my writing, but that's okay. Regulus early in the week, and then it goes to Porrima later in the week, and then to Spica. If you're new at observing these stars, if you don't know this region of the sky, here's your chance to observe some of the, learn some of the stars. You go out on the evening of the 6th and say, well, there's a bright star below the moon. I've just learned Regulus. Can I find the backward question mark sickle shape for the tail of Leo? Go out on the 9th and find Porrima and find Spica then at that same time. One more thing for you here. Mars is in Taurus, and it sits near the V of the Hyades. Aldebaran is that bright orange star, and of course Mars is a bright orange-red right here. As Venus and Jupiter, Venus is zipping through the night sky. Mars is also, it's in retrograde motion. It's moving westerly against the background stars. So not the direction it moves most of the time, not prograde motion, but retrograde motion. But it is moving just a small amount. In the week that where Venus closed on Jupiter by about 6 degrees, Mars will move 1.5 degrees or so against the background stars. So yeah, if you're paying close attention and making sketches and really being careful with this, you will notice it moving against the background stars. But it's not going to jump out at you the way the motion of Venus is going to jump out at you. But Mars is there. It's beautiful to check as it moves slowly through Taurus right now. Sort of extend the upper level of the V of the Hyades, and you come to Mars up here about that same length. But you can't miss it. Mars is big and bright and red. Aldebaran big and bright and orange. And you'll see these two things glowing together. We bring it up here right now because about the 10th and then the 11th, the evening of the 10th into the morning of the 11th, or the evening of the 11th into the morning of the 12th, the comet, the green comet that you've been hearing about and that someone asked about on last week's video, is going to be sliding right through this region. It might be your best chance to find it because it's going to be very near Mars. And so it's going to be beneath Mars about the 11th or so. So look in the evening of the 11th into the next morning, or into the morning before that, the morning of the 11th, the evening of the 11th, the morning of the 12th is a good time to check this out as the comet slides through there. Now the comet, the last time I checked, it's a little bit brighter than what had been forecast to be at this time, and we don't know exactly what it'll look like. By this time, it should have turned over and be getting slightly less bright, but it's still going to be pretty bright. And it's been around long enough. As comets are around longer, their tails should grow. You boil more stuff off from solar heating, so it might be a little bit bigger, even if it's faded, even if it's gotten further away from us, so we don't see it quite as bright. So it's still a very good time to observe this, and the fact that it's sitting really close to Mars, if you get your binoculars out, it should be bright enough under really dark skies you might be able to see it. You get your binoculars out and put Mars in the top of the field of view of your binoculars, you should be able to see the comet in the bottom of the field of view on these nights, or very close thereabouts. Just move your binoculars slightly down below it and scan a little bit left to right. It's a good comet. You know, it's not one of these things. I don't think that you're going to go out and say, wow, that's the most spectacular sight I've ever seen. But it's a good comet, and it's relatively easy to see compared to some comets. So it's worth going out and checking out here. And you can do it all week. It's coming from this direction. Right? And so you don't need to wait until the 10th into the 11th out here, you don't have to wait until Friday, Saturday, Sunday to go out and observe this thing. Just if you want to go out a few days earlier, just scan back up away from sort of west and north of Mars and see if you can find the comet back that direction. But that's what we got. That's what the stuff that's moving through the sky this week. Venus and Jupiter, the moon making good pairings with a bunch of stars, and Mars with the comet. So have a great week, everybody. I hope you have clear skies for observing some of this. And as always, thanks for watching.